Hey everyone, greetings from Phuket. I am on my last morning here. I fly out later today to go to Hong Kong, and I wanted to take a few moments to recap kind of the past couple weeks and give you a glimpse inside travel and different things that happened. And I wanted to capture a particular story that happened to me while I was snorkeling in Koh Tao so that I can remember. But anyway, so I've been traveling. I left the States again about a year ago and started in Europe, did Southeast Asia, was in Australia, New Zealand, and then now I'm back in Thailand en route to eventually going back to the East Coast to see my family because I haven't seen my family in a year and a half. So I'm like at that point where I'm just like bursting with excitement to get back and I'm just mentally ready to go home. Like most travelers know that like you get to a point where it's just you're like, oh, okay, I'm ready to go home. I don't want to figure out bus stops and hostels and how to get from A to B. I just want to decompress. So I'm definitely there. But I want to start by sharing a story of when I was flying from Sydney to Phuket. And originally, this was supposed to be a visa run because I was meant to head back to Australia, but I decided to go back home instead, and more on that later. But anyway, so I was sitting in the Sydney airport and I hear this girl ask a question to another girl, and the girl didn't know the answer, but I did, so I decided to answer her. And she's like, "Oh, like where are you going?" And I'm like, "I'm going to Phuket." She's like, "Oh, me too." And she ended up being from California, so her and I chit-chatted a bit, and then we lost each other once we boarded the plane because we weren't seated near each other. But then we met back up in Kuala Lumpur where we had our layover. So during our layover, we're just like talking and then eventually she's like, "Oh, like what seat are you on the airplane?" Well, lo and behold, we ended up having seats right next to each other on the airplane. And then she asked me where I was staying once I landed in Phuket. And since we were landing really late, like I just booked somewhere near the airport. And I'm like, "Oh, I forget the name of it. It's near the airport." She's like, "Well, I'm staying at the Luna hostel." And I'm like, "Oh, wait, that's the name of it. Like me too." So we end up going over to the hostel together. We had booked the same room and ended up having bunk beds on above each other. So it's just like very serendipitous, like coincidental type of stuff. And it kind of came for full circle because we traveled a little bit together and then went our separate ways. But I'm now back up near the Phuket airport to fly out, and I checked back into the same hostel, and they actually gave me her bed. So it's just a really coincidental type of thing. I love little stories like that, and we loved telling people, that story of like, oh, we didn't know each other, we were complete strangers, we had the same, tickets next to each other on the plane, the same hostel. So that's that first story. And then the second story I want to share was when I eventually made my way to Koh Tao. So I absolutely loved the snorkel, and I was meeting back up with the girl that I met on the plane and her friend, and we booked a snorkeling trip for the next day, this all day snorkeling thing. So I was like, all right, perfect. And we get on the boat, and the day started great. I kind of get seasick here and there, but after a little while, I was like, okay, I can manage this. But as the day went on, we were driving into this storm, and all of us were just like, holy shit. We went from like sunny skies to like absolute like crazy rainstorm. The waves started picking up, and we were just like, oh geez. So we were headed around to this area called Shark Bay that had about like a couple foot of a shark in there, and our tour guide wanted to show us. So luckily there was only 5 of us. It was me, 2 American girls, and then this English couple. And when we get to Shark Bay, we anchor, and like in the distance, we can see that there's lightning. But like our tour guide was just like, come, like stay close to me, because he really wanted to show us the shark. So we like all jump into this water, like a little bit reluctant, like, oh, I don't know if this is a good idea. But we get into this water and we start swimming away from the boat to go find the shark. And I am like gluing myself next to this instructor because it takes a lot to get me freaked out. But like the water really started to get rough, and then it started to pour rain as we're like looking around. Eventually I see this shark swim by, and immediately in my mind I'm like, I want to go back to the boat. Like I want to get out of this freaking water, because as we're swimming we start seeing flashes of light in the sky from the lightning, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm gonna be the freaking news story that like I freaking die in this shark infested water while trying to snorkel like a stupid idiot. So I'm just like staying around the instructor, and everybody's kind of just looking around. But then all of a sudden there was this like massive clap of thunder, and all of our heads popped out of the water and like frightened, like locked eyes. And I think, I don't know if I was the person who said it or somebody else, but I was like, I want to go back to the boat. And everybody's like, yeah, yeah. So I turn over to try to find the boat because the waves were like going up and over our heads and like tossing us around. And I see that this freaking boat is far, and my heart just was like, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, all right, I gotta make it there. So I like put my head in the water and just, we didn't have fins, we didn't have life vests or anything. And I just start swimming as fast as I can to try to get to this boat because like every time I look up, I see streaks of lightning in the sky and it's just pouring rain, and I'm like swimming this way and the waves are going this way. So I'm just getting pummeled by waves, and all the water's going into my snorkel so that like I'm breathing in the salt water. So I start choking. So I like rip off my mask and I just like stood there for a second because I like started getting a little panicky and I couldn't see anybody around me. So I was like, shit. And then luckily the tour guide like came up next to me. He's like, are you all right? And I said, I just handed him my mask and I was like, take my mask. And then I just started swimming again, and I noticed the girl next to me, she was like struggling a bit too. So we get like close to the boat and they like throw out the life rings to like pull us in and then pull the other people in, and we just like get on this boat and we're just like freaking hysterically laughing. Like we didn't know what else to do. We're like, oh my god, what idiots we are to like get into this water. And our like Thai tour guide was just like laughing, like loving it. So then, all right, we're safe and sound on the boat, right? And then we need to go 40 minutes about up and over these crazy waves, and we're just getting rocked like back and forth, and we're just taking on water as the waves hit the boat and go into the boat, and we're just all sitting there like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And like our tour guide just like puts out a tray of watermelon like it's a casual freaking snack day. Oh my gosh. So we finally get into the harbor and I was just like, okay, all right, like we're okay, we're gonna make it. And luckily we ended up getting this like double rainbow as we pulled in to anchor, and it was like, phew. Okay, so then we had the taxi transport to go back to our bungalows. So it's like on the back of a pickup truck. So we jump onto the back of this pickup truck and it's like lightly drizzling. And our taxi driver pulls out and we hear sirens behind us, and it's like a one-way street. And we look back and there's like this ambulance type of truck with sirens going on, and somebody's like, oh my god, somebody's getting CPR. So like I look back there and our truck like can't move. Like we're blocking this ambulance from going by, and finally he's able to like pull over, and as this freaking ambulance truck goes by, we see somebody unconscious in the back getting CPR. So after like our whole experience of that was like, it was literally very frightening, like in the water trying to get to this boat, and then seeing that, like we were just all like, I think a bit rattled. And it was like, in that moment, I was just like, oh my god, I freaking thanked the universe for keeping me safe and everything. So yeah, that was the crazy snorkel experience in Koh. It was nuts. So anyway, that's like the last story. Oh no, there's one more story, a very crazy coincidence. So actually my first night in Koh when I arrived from Koh Samui on a ferry and ended up getting there a bit later. And I was meeting up with these two girls because we were sharing a bungalow. So once I got there, I'm like, you know what? I'm just like gonna get a cold beer and chill out. So I'm like standing on this pathway where a lot of people walk. And as I'm standing there waiting for my friends to come, I see these two French girls that I volunteered with in Australia like months and months before. Like, well, I'm recording this in May, and I had been with them in Australia back in December. And I see them walk by, and I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like, no way, no way, no way! And we randomly ran into each other on this like small island in Thailand. I had no idea they were here. I didn't even see on Facebook, so I ended up being able to catch up with them and eat dinner and everything. So yeah, so that's like my Thailand craziness story. I absolutely love this place. It's just beautiful, chaotic. It's a beautiful disaster in a sense, but the people are great, the food is great, and you really can like live it up as a backpacker on a budget because it is cheap. Like a snorkel trip will cost like all day with food included and gear is like $15. Whereas like the frustrating part for me when I was spending so much time in Australia, like it was just so expensive. Like it was hard for me to go out and do things and enjoy things and even like go to dinner. And like here it's like I can go to lunch and dinner every day, socialize. So it's been a really good lift for my spirits, and especially knowing that my next step, and my final destination for the time being is going to be to reunite with my family and friends. So I'm so excited. And I also wanted to put it out there that once I get back in the States and I can just like decompress and process everything that I've been through in the past year of international travel again, because, I've officially been full-time traveling for 3 years, and I had a midway pit stop back in the States. But I've just like learned so much, and I run into different travelers and share experiences and just the little logistics of how I get around. A lot of people are curious, and I really want to help people in terms of like that first step of getting out there, because I think what people focus on, like the financial aspect of it, yes, that is important, and how to get from A to B and where to go, that is like just basic stuff. I think what's even more important as a traveler, and from what I experience from meeting other travelers, is like develop and cultivating the mindset that so that you can get the most out of your trip. Because I've had it myself too, where it's like I've felt like so incredibly alive, so blessed, so like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm doing this. But then I also had moments where like I was totally devastatingly lonely and like, meh, because you have to deal with things, while you're on the road, like by yourself. Like, yeah, you have friends from home, but like as a solo traveler, yeah, I meet people, but I do spend a significant amount of time alone as well. So I want to share like the insights of the emotional side of travel and helping, to prepare people and get people ready to go on their adventure. So I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos. I know some people on my Facebook have made some suggestions about things that they're curious about, because I'm pretty much willing to talk about anything. So I will get to that soon. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and happy travels, everybody. All right, bye.